right, so welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy coming back from 4th of July holiday if you were somewhere else. And practice of yoga is always coming back, right? And that's the practice is what are you coming back to? It's not so much where you went away to, but it's where you're coming back to. And the more we come back to a place that is really a deep sense of being settled in who we are, that's what we call, right, our being at peace. That's what we call being in equanimity, is when we are really deeply settled in who we are. And so I've been thinking about this lately as being that awareness of who you are includes all of your stuff, right? We often say that it's the who you are beyond all of that stuff, and your mental, your emotional, your fluctuations, all of that. We say it's kind of beyond that. But at the same time, being really settled in who you are is also completely understanding how your mind works and not feeling like that's a reason why you have to keep apologizing. That my mind works this way, and so I'm always apologizing for what I feel, or I'm always apologizing for what I think. And maybe apology is not the right word, but there's a sense of dissatisfaction with what we feel or what we think. And we do that to ourselves a lot, right? A thought comes into our mind and we're like, ooh, why would I think that way? Or we say something and we're like, oh, why would I have done that? And we carry it around for the next, 60 years of that thing that we said, or that thing that we thought, or that thing that we did, and what we think it represents about us. So this being settled deeply in who you are means that there's the opportunity to take whatever the tendencies of your mind are and to forgive yourself for them, right? Permission to feel exactly what you feel, and to know that those feelings are not wrong in and of themselves, but that they give you an outlet or an opportunity to discover what comes next, right? To discover your relationship with the world over and over and over again. And it's through those unique emotional patterns that you really do discover deeply who you are. It's not outside of those things, it's through those things. So we start to become really accepting of the way the mind works without trying to stop it from being that. And in doing so, we start to really understand what is behind those emotions, right? The self that is behind those emotions. And that's where we can say that, who we are is not the emotional self, it's beyond that, but it's what's behind, right? It's what the space is where all of those emotions can originate from and can come back to. And the thought that has been working for me that I come around to a lot is in Buddhism, there's the thought that everyone has a Buddha nature, right? That there's a part of you or an experience of you that is already enlightened, right? That's already in that state of full realization, that's not trying to change or correct or resolve anything. It's just in that state of equanimity already. And so the practice becomes, whenever your mind is doing what it's doing, is that instead of looking at it being like, man, my mind is so messed up, as you say, the Buddha is experiencing this, right? Buddha is experiencing anger. Buddha is experiencing fear. Buddha is experiencing jealousy. Buddha is experiencing that. And it's so we start to unite in ourselves the concept that that Buddha nature is still there, that equanimity is still there, right alongside all that other stuff that's happening, right? None of that can take it away from you. And that's our practice, right? Is again, not where you went, not where the emotions or the mind took you, but where you come back to. And if you can come back to over and over again that there is that Buddha self, or there is that equanimity self, Shiva self, we say in yoga, that self is always present, then you have something to return to that's always going to be bigger than those emotions, those moments where you maybe wish something different had happened or something different had occurred. So permission to feel exactly as you feel, and to let that be the way that you start to come back to, again, what is behind where all of that emotion arises from, right? That it is Buddha experiencing this life, or it is Shiva experiencing this life, or it is the pureness of your soul experiencing this life. Don't let the mind drag you away from that. So comfortable seat, if you're not there already, let the eyes close. And just for a breath or two, feel yourself expanding through not just the front of your chest, but through the middle and back of your rib cage. So try to breathe 360 degrees. So you are breathing wide into your ribs and into your back. Good. And the exhale is softening everything, and you're inhaling, breathing wide through the back, through the side ribs. So again, not differentiating between, oh, I'm breathing through the front or through the back. I'm breathing in all directions. And if I breathe in all directions, then I come back. From all directions, I return to the center. From all directions, I return home. From all directions, I return back to what is my original nature. But everything that arises in my mind is arising through that original nature. So it's just the way I find my way back. Good. Take one more full breath, again, as wide as you can. And then as you exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice. You guys can release your hands. Come onto hands and knees, please. Then come into child's pose. Knees nice and wide, big toes together to touch. Let your hips move back towards your heels. Good. And again, find this feeling of breathing wide into your ribs, breathing wide up into the upper back, into the shoulder blades, into the places that feel like they are restricted. Find yourself breathing wider. Good. Literally, the breath is just filling up whatever space there is, and you don't even have to contemplate, is there enough space? Should there be more space? You're just filling up the space that's there. And that becomes really the practice that we have, is to fill up the full space of who you are. And that means not cutting yourself off from the things that you feel, the things that you think, but using those thoughts and feelings and fluctuations as the way that you come back to what's behind it. Walk yourself to the right, please. Belly over the right thigh. Good. Again, breathing a little bit more into that left rib cage, maybe walking your left fingertips over, or your left wrist over your right just a little bit more. Good. And then walk yourself back to center, please. Move yourself over to the left thigh. So belly moves over to the left. Shoulders move to the left. Nice. And again, the right wrist maybe reaches a little longer, coming to cross over the left wrist. Good. And then walk yourself back to center, please. Come up onto hands and knees. Do a little bit of cat and cow. So planting the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Inhaling, lift and lengthen the spine, chest lifts, tail lifts, and then exhale, curl and round, pull up through the back of the rib cage and through the top of the hip points. Good. And then continue like that, moving from your ribs and your pelvis. Finding that connection that as you inhale, you're drawing them away from each other, lengthening the back. And as you're exhaling, you're drawing them towards each other, rounding and expanding into the back. Good. So you continue doing that with this awareness that the ribs and the pelvis might feel like it's moving forward and back, like moving away from each other and getting closer, but the back body is constant, right? Your back body is moving with those fluctuating points. It's what's behind. Good. A couple more breaths, finding that sensation of the ribs and the pelvis moving in unison, moving away from each other on the inhale, moving towards each other on the exhale. Good. And then come back to stillness, please. Good. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Good. And step your right foot forward between the hands. Take both hands inside that foot and then walk to your left until you come to the center of your mat. Turn your feet, Prasarita Padottanasana. Good. Bending the knees, taking your thighs back a little bit more. So as you bend your knees, you widen the inner knees, you take your butt back so your weight is centered more in your heels. There you go. And then start to straighten the legs again. Good. Pressing your hips up towards the sky. Press down through your heels. Make sure your hands are touching something. Come up on your tippy toes. Good. So as you come up on the balls of your feet, again, you're squeezing the feet towards each other, shins towards each other. Pull up through those inner thighs. Pull up through your low belly. Good. And then keep that feeling of lift. Let the heels soften back towards the floor. Good. Bend your knees again, taking your butt back. Good. Weight in your heels. Nice. And then start to straighten the legs again. Press through the heels. Lift the hips even higher. Good. And then come up on your tippy toes one more time, pulling up through the inner thighs, pulling up through the shins. Good. Good. Lifting through the low belly. Press your seat up towards the sky. Tailbone up. Good. And then relax the heels back down towards the floor. Nice. Hands are underneath the shoulders. Right hand plants left arm to the sky. Spinal twist. Good. Keeping your right thigh and low belly lifted wide to the right. Push through that right hand. Lift that left rib cage a little higher. Yeah. And then release and switch, please. Left hand comes down to the floor. Right arm comes to the sky. So again, making sure that hand, so Joanne, move your left hand forward just a little bit more. Yeah, the more that hand is underneath your shoulder, the more room you actually have to extend your spine and therefore twist deeper. If you're too close in, it's going to be hard to rotate. Good. One more breath. Draw your throat back. Fall back towards the upper left-hand corner of your mat. Good, Kristen. Nice, Harriet. Good. Release that right hand down to the floor, please. Good. Walk your hands back in. Take your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. So you're in wide legs. Prasarita Padottanasana, Laura, with the right leg forward. So turn yourself around. Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, right leg forward. Yep. Prasarita Padottanasana. Good. You got it. Turn the right toes towards the top of your mat, please. Bend the knee. Come into warrior two. So bring that front knee over the front ankle. Stretch your arms out wide. Good. Nice, you guys. Drop the left hand down the back thigh. Right palm spins up and back. Reverse warrior. Reach up. And as you extend up through that side rib cage, take the top of your right thigh down and forward. So again, you're dropping through that thigh, or you're rooting through that thigh. Good. Take the top of your left thigh back in space just a little bit. Nice. And then bring yourself all the way back up to center, please. Beautiful. Release the hands down to the floor. Spin your back heel up. Good. Hips face straight ahead. Left hand plants right arm to the sky. Spinal twist. Good. Again, widening the inner thigh so that right butt cheek draws back and in, but your left inner thigh has to push a little wider to the left. Good. Squeeze your feet towards each other and then take the arms up into a standing twist. So just reach through that right hand, take your shoulders up on top of your hips. So your arms are going to be in a letter T in a standing twist. So bring your shoulders up over top of your hips. Right hand reaches back, left arm reaches forward. You got it. Yep. You got it, Linda. Good, you guys. Awesome. And then unwind the twist. Inhale, both arms up to the sky. High lunge. Good. Still with the inner thighs pressing wide. Beautiful. Lean forward. Torso parallels the floor. So reach out with the arms alongside the ears. Pull your hips up and back. Yep. Now stay low with your torso. Take your hands back behind you. Interlace your fingers at the low spine. Good. Keep your upper arms pushing wide, even though you are hugging through your lower shoulder blades. Good. And then bow even deeper. Start to take the head forward, shoulders forward, stretching the arms up and over any amount. But keep that feeling of space. So there's a sensation of, yes, you're hugging through the upper back, but you're also pushing wide. Good. Nice, you guys. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Beautiful. Step back, downward facing dog. Good. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Point the toes back behind you as you find your belly rise up into cobra. Lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then release your forehead back to the floor, please. Good. Keep the elbows where they are. Tuck your toes. Press your knees into the floor so you start to pop the tops of your thighs up, your butt up just a little bit more. Good. And then you're pressing into your hands. Engage those lower armpits. Again, start to draw your low rib cage up away from the floor. So you're doing a reverse push-up here. So using the knees in one fell swoop, top of your head to your tailbone, lift your upper torso off of the floor. Come into that reverse push-up all the way back up into a modified plank. Good. You got it. And then lift the knees off of the floor, full plank pose. Yeah. Downward facing dog, hips up. Nice job, you guys. Good. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Good. Both hands inside the front foot. Walk to your right until you come to the center of your mat. Prasarita Padottanasana, wide legs. Good. Again, planting your right hand underneath the right shoulder. Take your left arm to the sky, spinal twist. Pull the right low belly and right inner thigh a little wider to the right. Good. Pressing into your right fingertips. Lift longer through your left wrist. Yes. And then release and switch. Left hand down, right arm to the sky. Good. Remembering that the more space you give yourself between your hand and your feet, the easier it is to actually find full twisting. Good. Right inner thigh, left inner thigh, sorry, goes lifted and wide. Awesome. And then release that hand down to the floor, please. Good. Hands touching something. Start to drop your head, bend your elbows, come up on your tippy toes. Yep. Good. And then you're hugging the feet. So we're back in Prasarita Padottanasana, left leg forward this time. There you go. Squeeze in. Good. And then relax the heels back to the floor, please. Good. Walk your hands back in. Take your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. Turn the left toes forward to the top of your mat. Bend the left knee. Come into warrior two. Stretch the arms out wide. Good. Again, that front knee is widening. So draw it a little bit wider so that outer left hip bone, that outer left butt cheek has to move back and in. So it's like you're aligning your pelvis more with your heels or more with your ankles. Good. Drop the right hand down the back thigh. Left palm spins up and back, reverse warrior. And again, as you lean back, take that left thigh forward and down. So the top of that thigh comes down. Right? So it's partially, you might have to separate your feet longer if your knee is coming beyond your ankle, but you want the pelvis to descend, the pelvis to drop. Good. Come all the way back up to warrior two. Nice. Cartwheel the hands down to the floor, spin your back heel up. So square the hips. Good. And for a lot of us, that means you have to step your right foot a little wider to the right or left foot wider to the left. You have to widen your stance a little bit. Good. Right hand stays on the floor, left arm to the sky twist. And again, pushing that right inner thigh wider so your left butt cheek, your left hip pulls in. That's it. Nice, Laura. And then squeeze the feet, keep the twist, but take your shoulders up over your hips. So you reach out through the left fingertips, right arm extends forward. Good. So you're in the standing twist. Yeah, it's not an easy transition. You got it, Linda. Good. Nice area. Good, Kristen. Nice, you guys. Get truly vertical. That means that your right shoulder has to move, or your right rib cage has to lift a little longer. Yep. Good. Unwind your twist, please. Inhale, both arms forward and up, high lunge. Again, watch that front knee that it's not falling in. And then lean forward, torso parallels the floor. As your torso comes forward, kick your hips up and back. Put a little bit more weight into that back foot. Even press out through that back heel if you'd like. Good. And then stay low. Take your hands back behind you. Interlace the fingers. Beautiful. And again, you can squeeze the shoulder blades a lot, but then start to push wide through your upper back. Start to push wide through your upper arms. And then bow deeper inside, dropping the head. Take the arms up and over any amount. So any amount that you squeeze to try and make this position make more sense, I need you to also try and push wide. Good. Yeah. So we can't just do one. Nice. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Good job. Step back, downward facing dog. Now your legs are awake. Deep breath in, deeper breath out. Good. And then step your right foot forward between the hands. Take the left foot forward to meet it. Standing forward fold. Good. Bend both knees. Come into chair pose. So as you bend your knees, take your hips back just a little bit more. Good. And then sweep the arms up alongside your ears. And then plant your hands on top of your thighs and round your back. So come into that cat position. So you're dropping more through your seat, pulling the rib cage and the top of the pelvic bones up towards each other. So again, that relationship is there. And then maintain that as you start to keep your hands on your thighs, start to lift your chest forward and up and send the tops of your thighs back just a little bit more. So you're not dropping the belly, but you're now extending a little longer from thighs to ribs. Good. And then maintain that, arms come back up alongside your ears. Nice. Stretch through the fingertips, press back through your tailbone. So one long line. Really nice. And then come all the way up to stand, pressing through the heels. Nice job. Keep the arms up where they are, or you can take your hands behind your head if you'd like. And then pressing into your left leg, standing leg, bring your right knee up towards your chest so your thigh parallels the floor. Good. So butt has to go slightly backwards. Nice. Awesome. And then place that foot down to the floor. Good. And you're doing the same thing on the other side. So keeping the hands up, place that right foot, draw the left knee up. Good. Watch that it's not coming towards the midline of your body. Push that inner thigh slightly wide. Push the inner knee slightly wide. Good. And then place it back down to the floor. Good. Same thing. First side again. Right knee draws in and up, forward and up. Top of your thigh goes up and back. So draw that thigh bone up and in, push your butt back. Good. And then draw the knee just a tiny bit higher. Good. And then step it down to the floor. Good. Second side again. Draw the left knee up. Good. Taking your butt up and back. Flex that left foot. So again, there's integrity. There's strength in the whole leg. Good. And then place it down. Nice. First side again. Last time. Draw that right knee all the way up. Pulling the top of your sit bones back and wide, or the top of your pelvis lifts up and your butt goes back. Good. Draw that right knee out wide to the right now. Swing it open like a gate as though you were coming into tree pose. Good. Don't let your left hip swing forward as you do that. Pull your left top hip back. Good. And then squeeze that knee up towards your armpit a little higher. Yep. Beautiful. Swing it back forward again. And then place that foot down to the floor. I know. It's third side, second side, third time. Bring your left knee up. Your third side. Good. Take your butt up and back. So again, you're staying super long through your spine. Nice. Awesome. Don't let that knee slide in towards the midline. And then you're going to swing that leg open like a gate. So open the inner thigh, but don't let the top of your right hip swing forward. Pull the top of your right hip and thigh back. So resist that. Good. And then you're widening the left knee. Nice. Kristen, you've gone a little too far. Top of your right hip's got to spin back more. Good. And then swing that knee forward again. Beautiful. And then place that foot down to the floor. Place your feet, bend both knees, drop back into chair. I know I'm going to let you put your arms down in a second. Good. And then release the hands to the floor, please. Straighten the legs and bow. Oh, I know. That was a lot of arms. Nice. So plant your hands, please. Step your feet back to downward facing dog. Good. Right leg comes up and back behind you, down dog split. From the top of your thigh, rise up, lift up. Beautiful. And then step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Yep. Inhale the arms back up to the sky, high lunge. And bring the hands behind your head so you get a little bit of a break, not just arms up. Good. And then start to twist yourself again to the right. So turning from your rib cage, twist towards that front thigh. Hands stay behind your head. So you're pressing your head back into your hands. Kick your left thigh up a little bit higher. So again, that sensation of drawing the hips up and back. Good. And then stretch your arms out, letter T again in the twist. Good. Extending out, but chest open. So draw your low belly in, rib cage in, wide, and bring that left side back forward. So the back of your left rib cage moves forward. And the right rib cage widens. That's it. And then bring those left fingertips down to the floor, please. Right arm to the sky. So you're coming into a twist with that left hand on the floor. Right arm up. Awesome. And then take the right arm over your ear, please, reaching on the diagonal. You can fall onto that left hand just a little bit more if you'd like. Good. Yeah, chest open. And then release that hand down to the floor. Nice job. Drop the back knee, please. Move your left hip back in space so it's on top of that knee. And then take your right leg forward to straight. Come up on the heel, Ardha Hanumanasana. Good. Walk the hands forward any amount, curling the toes back. Good. So wherever the mind wants to create a label, wants to create a judgment, is automatically falling into a label or a judgment or a thought pattern. You start to weave into that the idea that it is simply your Buddha self having that experience. There is a deeper layer of you that is in that state of unchanging equanimity, but that it's not a negation of all of those other thoughts and emotions. It's not how we come back to it. So the Buddha nature is capable of holding all of those fluctuating experiences and is undisturbed, not lessened by them. So that's really the practice, right? Is don't lessen yourself, don't minimize yourself because of the feelings, the thoughts that are there. Start to walk your hands towards that baby toe edge of your front foot, please. So both hands walking towards the baby toe side of the foot. Good. And bringing that left hand to the floor or a block on the outside of that shin. Maybe take your right arm up to the sky, come into a twist. Good. So again, as you draw in and up through the low place of your belly and the low place of your ribs, that connection of lower ribs and top of pelvis is what helps you open from the back, right? Open from the core to twist open more. Yeah, nice, Joanne. Good, Kristen. Good, Laura. Nice, Harriet. Nice, Linda. Good. Slowly release, please. Coming back to center. Nice. Drag that right heel back in. Come back to the low lunge. So bring your knee forward over that ankle. Lift the back knee up. Good. And then step yourself back to down dog split. Take your right leg up and back behind you. Beautiful. And then point the toes. The leg is up in the air. Point the toes. Good. Keeping the leg straight, dip the toes back down to the floor. So just touch the floor with your pointed toes. Good. And then lift the leg back up to down dog split. Good. Keep your hips facing the floor. And then drop the toes back down without resting your weight there. Lift the leg back up. Good. One more time. Lower the leg down, pointing the toes to the floor. Good. And then lifting the leg back up, down dog split. Nice. Beautiful. Release that foot all the way downward facing dog. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Lower down slow, coming through knees if you need, all the way to the belly. Rise up, cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then exhale back to your belly, please. Forehead to the floor. Again, pressing into the knees. Feel your hips and the tops of your thighs lift up just a little bit. And toes are tucked. Press into your hands. Feel that hug of the upper arms. So you're trying to get those lower armpits to engage. So you hug in and then try and push wide as though your elbows are pushing out into something, but your upper arms are squeezing in. Good. And then pull your low rib cage away from the floor. Top of head to tail is all one piece. Press up into that modified plank. Good. All one piece. That's it. Almost. And then lift the knees off of the floor. Full plank pose. Good. Downward facing dog. Lift the hips. Press back. Good. Yeah, it's a complicated thing to describe to get your pelvis and your ribs to move at the same time. Left leg up and back behind you. Down dog split. Good. Step that foot forward between the hands, please. Lunge. Good. And then inhale the arms up to the sky. High lunge, please. Good. Hands back behind your head. Elbows wide. Good. So again, the little lift of the front of your pelvic bones, you have that little tilt of the pelvis where you're lifting your pelvis up off of your thigh, making a little space there. And then start to twist to the left, keeping those pelvic bones lifted, low belly lifted. Good. And as you're twisting, don't let your front knee fall inward. Push it wide. That's it. Good. And then still in the twist, stretch your arms out wide, letter T. Good. So you're still vertical. That rib cage is nice and long. Back thigh kicks a little higher. Good. And then lean forward. Let that right hand come down to the floor. Left arm to the sky. Twist. That's it. Good. Then lean onto that right hand a little bit more. Take the left arm over the ear, reaching to the upper right hand corner of your mat to come on the diagonal. Good. And again, open the chest as much as you'd like. So the more you lean onto that right hand, the more you might feel that you can actually open the chest, open through the side ribs. Beautiful. Nice, Harriet. Good, Linda. Awesome, you guys. Release that hand down to the floor, please. Good job. Drop the back knee. And then move your right hip back in space. Take the left leg forward to straight, Ardha Hanumanasana. So there should be a nice, easy, neutral line from your right hip to your right knee. And the left leg is extended. And then the hands walk forward towards the ankle, any amount of a forward fold. Good. Nice. This is an interesting thing that the more you start to incorporate that sense of equanimity or the basic goodness, they sometimes say in Buddhism, the basic goodness that you are, you start to incorporate that into your everyday reality so that it's never far away from you. It's never separate. And then you don't have to work so hard to feel like your mind is ultimately a good place or that your body is somewhere that you actually want to be. So there's an automatic sense of acceptance and maybe even forgiveness that comes from labeling your thoughts and your feelings as part of your Buddha nature and not something that is opposed to it. Part of your equanimity and not something that is opposed to it. Part of your goodness and not something that is opposed to it. And yeah, maybe it's the extension that brings us back home, right? Helps us come back home in a really serious way because we've gone so far because of that emotion. That's all it's doing, is bringing you back. Start to walk your hands to that outside edge of the leg, please. So both hands towards the baby toe. Good. And then again, you can plant that right hand either to the floor or a block on the outside of that left shin. And then you got to really draw the thighs in and up. So drag back on that left heel. And then maybe left arm comes to the sky for a twist. Good. Inner thighs have to keep widening though. If you let all of your weight push out to the left, you're going to become unstable. So you got to press that forearm and the shin against each other. From your low belly, rib cage, draw in, open more, chest open. Really nice, Linda. Good, Kristen. Nice, Joanne. And then release that hand, please. Walk it back to center. Good. Drag back on that left heel, bend the knee so you come back into that low lunge. Lift the back knee up. Good. And then take your left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Nice. So the leg stays lifted. Point the toes. Good. And then start to bring those toes down towards the floor. So still in down dog. So you just touch the floor with the tips of your toes and then take the leg back up. Kick it up. Good. And then bring the toes back down to the floor. Barely touch. Good. And then kick it back up. Nice. One more time. Lower those toes towards the floor. Keep your low belly engaged, drawing in, and then kick that thigh back up. Nice. And then release that left foot down to the floor, full downward facing dog. Beautiful. Slide forward, plank pose, upward push up. Good. And then drop your knees to the floor. So a modified plank. Your hips are still in front of your knees. Good. So I want you to really get this sensation that, again, the relationship, the connection of your hip points to your lower ribs, right? So draw them towards each other. So your belly is going to feel like it tones a little bit or it firms a little bit. Good. And then start to, all one piece, lower down halfway to the floor, only halfway. So lower down halfway, elbows point back, hug those upper arms. Good. And then press yourself away from the floor, ribs and thighs move at the same time, back up to that modified plank. And then lower down halfway only. Good. Keeping your collarbones lifted and then press yourself back up. Again, ribs and thighs moving at the same time. That's what's important. One more time, lower down, just so you can feel how easy it is to drop your thighs here. Don't do it from your lower thighs. Pull up from your low ribs, pull in and press the floor away. Nice. Good. Come all the way back up. Press back, child's pose, knees wide. Beautiful. It's so easy to go away from feeling acceptance. It's so easy to go away from feeling equanimity. It's so easy to go away from feeling like things are okay as they are. And the going away is not really the challenge. It's the awareness that we have in coming back. Go away as many times as is necessary, but remember to come back. And come back to what? Is that state that is where all of that emotion, all of that thought is arising from, held within. And that is your state of equanimity. That is your state of goodness. That is your state of Buddha-ness. Not separate from. Walk yourself all the way back in, please. Good. Come up to a high kneeling position. Bring your hands to your hips. Stretch your right leg out wide to the right. Good. So gate pose, heel is in line with the left knee. Good. And then stretch the arms out wide, letter T. Good. And then slide the right hand down the right thigh. Take the left arm over the ear. So again, stretching through the side body. Make sure that you're not pushing forward through the pelvis. So again, the tops of your thighs are softening back, which again allows your lower rib cage to soften in. And then you can open wider through the collarbones. That's going to help bring the armpits wider. Good. Come all the way back up to center, please. Arms out wide. Reach that left arm out and down to the floor. Take your right arm over the ear. Good. And again, if you need a block underneath that hand to comfortably reach the floor, use a block. Nice. Good. And then leaning onto that left hand, start to lift the right leg up parallel to the floor. So again, if you have to change the height of your block for that, and sometimes the slightly lower height in this position is going to make it easier to lift your leg. Good. Do little circles with that lifted heel. There you go. Nice, you guys. Inner thigh and butt. Inner thigh and butt. Inner thigh and butt. Good. Nice. And then lift and stay. Good. Optional, bend the knee, kick your heel back towards your butt, reach for the foot or the ankle. Beautiful. And stretching through the whole length of your thigh. Nice. And then extend the leg all the way back out. Good. Place the foot back down to the floor. Come all the way back up. Good. Using the low belly. There you go. And then release and switch, please. So bring that right knee to the floor underneath the right hip. Take your left leg out wide. Heel in line with your knee. Good. Make sure that there should still be this feeling that your legs are squeezing towards each other. So even though, again, they're in a lengthened position, try to make sure that your right hip is directly on top of your right knee so that that line is neutral. And that even the extended leg is there's a squeezing in so that that knee that is now sideways is not collapsing in. There's a sense of lift. Good. Arms out wide. Slide the left arm down the left leg, right arm comes over the ear. Again, paying attention that you are not dropping your weight onto that knee, but that your inner shin, your inner thigh is actually lifting up towards your hands. You get more of a sense of lift and then a squeeze of the knee and the extended foot. Good. Nice, you guys. Good. Come all the way back up to center, please. And then move the other direction. Right hand reaches out and down to the floor. Left arm comes over the ear. Again, you can use a block underneath that hand if finding the floor is not comfortable or easy to do. Beautiful. It's suggested is to make your practice easier on yourself by removing that layer of judgment that is added to or on top of whatever it is that you just felt or thought or did. Good. Lean yourself onto that right hand just a little bit more. Float that left leg up off of the floor. Good. Parallel with the hip. Nice. And that left arm can stay over the ear, or you can bring the hand behind your head wherever you'd like. Start to make little circles with that left leg. Good. Again, focusing on inner thigh, outer hip. Nice. We insert into our awareness that whatever we are feeling or thinking or doing is that Buddha nature is there. Equanimity is there. The soul is there. Peace is there. How do we incorporate ourselves into that? Good. Lift and come back to stillness, please. Optional, bend that left knee, kick your heel in, reach back to the foot or the ankle, or again, stay where you are for one more breath. Even here, lifting through the inner thigh. Good. Really nice. Good, Kristen. Nice, Laura. Nice, Harriet. Extend the leg all the way back out, please. Good. Take that foot back to the floor. Find your way back to upright. Nice job. And then release that knee. Good. Come back to hands and knees, please. Do a little circling of your hips. Good. And move your hips the other direction, please. So go the other way. So we remove the layer of judgment. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Good. Take your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. And step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. And drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat, cartwheel the arms up, warrior two. And then straighten your front thigh, squeezing the feet towards each other, preparation for triangle pose. So similar to what you just did. So there's a subtle rotation. So try without using your hands that you're taking the top of that right thigh and rotating it outward just a little bit. So away from your belly. So the whole top of your leg is rotating outward just a little bit. Good. And then the top of your left thigh is softening back and in. Good. And then you're zipping up through the low place of your belly, lifting those hip points up towards your lower ribs. Nice. And now just like you did in gate pose, extend your rib cage long towards the top of that extended leg. Good. And then let that hand touch down, left arm to the sky. Trikonasana. Again, relationship between your lower ribs and the top of your pelvis. So your pelvic bones are lifting slightly up. Your lower rib cage is softening in. Nice. And you're pressing through the big toe mound of that front foot, but there's that slight widening, that slight rotation of the top of the thigh open. Nice, you guys. Good. I also like when it said, you know, that we don't go into the forest and look at the trees and scold them for not growing straight. Maybe we do if we own an orchard or something and we're irritated about the way the trees are growing, but we don't go into nature and start criticizing, right? Or hopefully we don't. Bend that right knee, please, coming into side angle pose. If you need to slide that right forearm up onto your front thigh, go for it. Good. And again, the idea is to get even stronger in your legs there because the knee is bent. So you're squeezing the feet towards each other. Scoop that right low belly, scoop that right butt cheek just a little bit, and then extend that right arm underneath the ear as well. So both hands are reaching towards the top of your mat. You got it. Yep. Both arms alongside the ears. Yep. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Strong glutes. Beautiful. And then release that right hand to the floor, please. Cartwheel the left hand down. Spin your back heel up. Good. And then keeping that back heel lifted, straighten your right thigh, please. So just lifting your hips nice and high. Again, blocks underneath the hands here if you need. Good. Pull the hips up, straighten that front leg. Good. And then bend the right knee again, please. Scoot your left leg back just a little bit more so you're lengthening your lunge. And then same thing as you're lifting up, take the hips nice and high. Good. Yep, hands still on the floor. Hips nice and high. Good. And then bend the knee again, please. This time, drop the back knee, wiggle your right heel forward just a little bit more. So you're working towards a Hanumanasana. Good. And then up on that heel. So coming into that version of Ardha Hanumanasana, up on the heel. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee up. Same attitude of can you lift your hips nice and high, press into the hands, press into blocks. Both legs are straight and it's a hovering split. All right. So not reaching for the floor, but lifting the back knee. Yep, feeling the legs squeeze towards each other up into the center of the pelvis. Good. So if you're leaning forward, that's fantastic. So you just feel that strength of your legs. And then any amount the chest can lift up. Nice, Linda. Good, Joanne. Nice, Kristen. Very good. One last breath. Good. And then drop the knee back to the floor, please. Slide that right heel back and in, and then come back to downward facing dog. Good job. Good. Vinyasa if you'd like, or take a breath in dog, or child's pose if you really need it. If you're doing the vinyasa, you're sliding forward to plank, lowering down to your belly, rising up cobra, and then your choice of either coming back straight to downward facing dog or dropping your forehead to the floor and doing that reverse chaturanga, either pressing into the knees, coming up onto that modified plank, or lifting the knees and coming all the way straight up into plank. Really good, Harriet. Good. And then lift the hips. Everybody finds their way back downward facing dog. So wherever you've wandered to, come back. Good. And then left leg comes up and back, down dog split. Nice. Step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Drop the back heel, baby toe parallels the back of your mat. Good. Take the arms up to warrior two. Yeah, you got it. Good. Straighten the front thigh. So you're preparing for triangle pose. And what that means, right, is that as the legs come to straight, the top of that left thigh has to rotate slightly outward. So it's like you're drawing that left butt cheek under just a little bit so that that thigh rotates, so that your knee stays pointing at your second toe. And then the top of your right thigh is going to soften back and in. Good. So that doesn't mean that you're pushing your right hip backwards. It just means that you're softening your thigh. Good. And then it's a drawing in and up through the top of your pelvic bones and a softening of your low rib cage. Good. Now just maintain all of that and extend forward into triangle. Let that left hand touch down. Take your right arm up to the sky. Good. And that's often what it feels like when we start practicing is, you know, put your mind here, put your mind there, get rid of that thought, put this over here, put that over there. Now just maintain that forever. And equanimity is yours. No way. Equanimity is yours no matter how messy your mind is. It's a question of whether you know how to feel it or incorporate it into your everyday reality. And for most of us, it seems so foreign because we don't think of ourselves that way. We think I'm too messy, I'm too this, I'm too that, or I'm too little to possibly have that. So you have to bring it in. It's the Buddha experiencing this. It's my soul experiencing this. It's Shiva experiencing this. Relax. Don't judge yourself so hard. Bend that left knee, please, like you're moving into side angle. If you need to slide that left forearm up onto your thigh, go for it. Right arm comes over the ear. Good. And again, you want to feel that squeeze of the feet towards each other. You want to feel that activity of your left butt cheek. You want to feel the top of your right thigh softening back and in. You want to feel yourself falling gracefully to the floor. Good. Keep that right thigh or right arm over the ear. Sorry. Take your left arm up as well. So both arms are reaching towards the top of your mat. Good. And then release that left hand down to the floor, please. Cartwheel that right hand down. Spin your back heel up so we can square the hips. Step that right foot a little wider to the right if necessary, because again, often it is. Good. And then straighten your front thigh. Again, blocks underneath the hands if you need them here. So you can keep your hands on the floor, but you pull your hips up. Back heel does not come to the floor. Keep it lifted. Because I want this feeling that you are actively drawing the legs in and up. That's the muscular awareness I want you to have, is the drawing up. Good. And then keep that feeling of integration. Bend the front knee again, come back towards the lunge. Maybe slide your right leg back a little further so you lengthen the lunge. And then same thing, start to straighten the legs. Good. So hips go nice and high, back heel stays lifted, pulling the thighs up and in. Good. And then bend the front knee again, please. This time drop the back knee to the floor so that you can take your left leg forward into Ardha Hanumanasana, or that almost to Hanuman. Come up on the heel. And then pressing your hands again into the floor, into blocks, tuck the back toes, lift your back knee up and come into that hovering split. So again, the thighs are pulling up and in. It's that same sensation of drawing in. Good. So get that sensation to be really strong, really powerful. Don't worry about reaching the floor, but draw the legs in. Try and keep your right hip facing straight ahead. So that's the back hip. That's it. Good. And then it's a lift of your pelvic bones up off of your thigh, a lift of your collarbones. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then if you smile, enlightenment is yours. If you can smile in Hanumanasana. There you go. Good job. Good. Release the back knee, please. Draw that left heel back into that lunge. Lift the back knee, step back, downward facing dog. Right. It's often said that when you find yourself in an inescapable place and you in your internal world, is you just have to smile at yourself. Good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower all the way down to your belly. Rise up, cobra. Good. And then exhale, release back to your belly, please. And flip over onto your backs. Good. If you have a block handy, bring it with you. So you can bend the knees, lift your hips, come into a supported bridge pose. Take the block underneath your sacrum. Good. Any height that you'd like. Yeah. Good. Yeah, and if you don't have a block, you can come into bridge and hang out for a few breaths and then let it go. Or you can keep your hips flat on the ground and do constructive rest. So with the knees bent, stacked over the ankles. Good. And just for a couple of breaths, can you find yourself again smiling at yourself? Whatever is running through your mind, whatever is running through your awareness, is that you smile at it. All of your worries, all of your doubts, all of your things that you're still trying to fix, that you're still trying to figure out, the things you're sorry for, the things that you're anxious about, the regrets. You smile at it. Know that none of it at all takes away even a smidgen of your equanimity, of what's there behind all of that. It doesn't take away any of the inner radiance or any of the bigness of what's behind all of that. By smiling, you remind yourself that there is something behind all of that, something to return to. And it's actually not far away. You're keeping the hips on the block if you are there. If you're not, release the hips down to the floor. But if your hips are up on a block, draw your right knee in towards your chest. If your hips are now on the floor, the same thing, draw the right knee in towards your chest. You're just doing it without the block. Good. Yep, keep your left knee bent. And then hold behind that right thigh. Please extend your heel up towards the sky. So it's a hamstring stretch on the block if you have one. Good. Keep that left foot on the floor, Joanne. There you go. Just extend your right leg to straight. Yep. Good, you guys. So as you're drawing that thigh in towards your belly, because that's what you do, I want you to try and take the top of your hip point away from your low rib. So it's almost like you are tilting your pelvis towards the edge of the block, your tail going towards the edge, forward edge of your block, towards your feet. Good. And then drawing that thigh away from the belly. Nice. And then bend the knee back in towards your chest, please. Squeeze it in. Good. And then step that right foot down to the floor. Try the other side. So the right foot plants, draw the left knee in. Hold behind the thigh. And again, extend that heel up towards the ceiling. Good. So as you're pulling that thigh in towards your belly, I want you to also try and make a little space between the top of your thigh and your hip point. So it's like you're trying to almost arch the lower back. So the pelvic bones, the tailbone are tilting towards that front edge of the block, towards your heels, away from your ribs. Good. And then maybe that gives you a little bit more room to really draw that thigh bone down and in, which maybe gives you a little bit more room to actually stretch longer through that thigh. Good. Maybe it makes no difference to you whatsoever, but try it. Nice. Good. And then slowly draw that knee back in towards your chest, please. So again, it's a squeeze in. And then release that foot down to the floor. Nice. Again, if you have the block there, keep it and take both legs up to the sky. If you do not have a block, you can either take your legs straight up with nothing, or you can come into a full shoulder stand. So your choice. Good. Nice, you guys. And again, if you have that block, then you're trying to, again, make that space between the tops of your thighs or your pelvic bones and your ribs. So it's a subtle tilt, almost like you're trying to fall off of the block. So you're trying to find the wideness of your sacrum, but tilting the top of your hip points away from your ribs. Good. Might feel a little weird because it's like you're actively arching your lower back, and we usually say to do the opposite. Nice. Just one more breath, feeling the weight of your sacrum, the weight of your legs pressing down and wide through that block. And then slowly release the feet back down to the floor, maybe one at a time, maybe both at the same time. Good. Press into the feet, lift your hips up off the block, place the block off to the side. Good. And then as you slowly lower the hips down to the floor, nice. Draw the right knee in towards your chest. Good. Extend your left leg straight down to the floor. Yep. So left leg straightens down to the floor. Hold behind that right thigh. Extend the heel up towards the ceiling. Stretch. Good. And again, top of your thigh moves away from your belly. So again, the top of the hip points are moving away from your thigh. Good. Deep breath in. As you exhale, if you'd like, lift your shoulders, walk your hands up towards your ankle. So lifting up any amount, walking your hands towards the ankle. Good. Yeah. So you feel that press down of your right lower back as you lift your shoulders. Good. And then as you start to relax the shoulders back down towards the floor, bring the leg with you any amount, even if the knee has to bend slightly, no problem. Good. Nice, you guys. And then bend that knee back in towards your chest, please. Squeeze. Beautiful. And then send that right leg down to the floor. Draw your left knee in towards your chest. Good. Hold behind the thigh. Extend the left heel up towards the sky. So again, it's variation, right, of how to work with these split positions. Good. Keeping the right leg active. So that leg that's on the ground, keep it active. So pressing down through the heel, top of the thigh, rooting down. Good. And as you're pressing that thigh into your hands, you're moving your belly and your thigh away from each other. So there's a subtle lift of the hip bones up towards the lower ribs down and in towards your hip bones. Good. And then a nice deep inhale. On your exhale, if you'd like, walk your hands up towards your ankle as you lift your shoulders up. So you're curling into your belly, but you're still pressing down through that left side sacrum. Good. Beautiful. And then as you slowly relax the shoulders back to the floor, bring that leg with you any amount, but keep that feeling of drawing into your belly and pressing down through that left side sacrum, pressing down into your lower spine. Good. Nice. And then bend that knee back in towards your chest, please. Beautiful. Draw the right knee in as well, so both knees come in. Good. Do a little circling with the knees. So you're massaging the lower back. So move them in whatever direction they'd like. They can move in the same direction. They can move in opposite directions. Good. And then just go the other way, whatever you choose to do, go the other way. Awesome. And then come back to center, please. Stretching the legs straight up towards the sky. Take your arms out wide, letter T, flex the feet, and then take the legs out wide to a straddle. Yep, out wide, out wide, out wide. Yep, so you want your ankles and your hips to be in pretty much the same line. So you're not letting your feet fall forward of your hips. So Joanne, keep the legs up more towards your belly. There you go. Good. Nice, you guys. And then squeeze the legs towards each other all the way back up towards the ceiling. Squeeze them in. Good. And then send them wide again. Again, watching the angle of the heels, the angle of the knees, trying to keep that neutral line or the same rotation all the way from the top to the wide. Good. And then squeeze the legs all the way back together. Nice. And then one more time, let the legs press wide. Really nice. Good, Linda. Good, Harriet. Good, you guys. And then squeeze the legs all the way back up to center. Awesome. And then bend the knees wide, happy baby. Reach for the ankles or the insteps. Good, keeping the low back rooted down to the floor. A little press up of your feet into your hands so that you're not hyper-focusing on trying to get your knees down to the floor, but you're actually finding that little extra leg energy maybe gives you an awareness again of your pelvis. So the pelvis needs to open here if you want your legs to go anywhere. And that's much more about finding the length of your tail down towards the floor. So lengthening the spine. Good. Nice, you guys. Bring the knees back towards each other, please. Cross the right thigh over top of the left, stacking the knees, separate the feet, reach for the ankles or the shins. Good. Drawing the knees up and in towards the belly, going wide through the sit bones. Nice. And then release and switch, please. Take the other leg on top, left leg on top, separating the feet. Good. You want there to be a maintained squeezing of the inner thighs. So it's not a gripping of the inner thighs, but it is a rotating them inward towards the center line. So that kind of hugging them towards each other is what creates the space in the lower back. And if we're just pulling our feet wide once we get into the basic position, is that we lose that. And then we're just kind of pulling on our knees. So instead, really focus on inner thighs are drawing towards each other, squeezing into each other. And then the feet widening becomes just a further opening and not something that is opposed to where the opening is meant to happen. Good. And then release, please, hugging the knees in towards your chest, squeeze. Good. Opportunity to go upside down in whatever way you would like to. My suggestion of what I would do if I had you in studio is I would have you be doing the hanging split version of handstand. So if you have a wall, you start in standing or in down dog split with one foot up on the wall, and then lift your shoulders up over your hands and float the other leg off, the other foot off of the floor. So that is one option. I can talk you through that slower if that's what you'd like to do. But any other inversion that you would like now is the time. So you can come back to legs on a block, legs up the wall. You can come into headstand, handstand, shoulder stand. Anything you'd like. Good. If you're working that handstand variation, you're starting in down dog split, one foot on the wall, toes tucked. And you got to walk your hands back towards your feet so that you don't have so far to go. Good. So you're bringing your armpits slightly forward over top of your wrist. You're pushing your hips up towards the sky. So that foot that's on the wall is super powerful. Good. And then you're scooping your belly. Push your butt up as you press into that leg. And the other leg floats up off the floor. So again, you have to have this awareness of rib cage in and low belly in, hips lift. Nice, you guys, really good. And then make sure you're still breathing. Hang out with it for a couple of breaths and then come on down. And try the other side. If you need a child's pose in between, make sure you take it. But remember, it really is about that strength of your legs, pushing into that foot that's on the wall, feeling the lift of the inner thigh of that leg that's up on the wall. Good. Rib cage in. Nice, 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 Laura. Joanne, Linda, you guys look perfect. Good. Nice, Kristen. Nice, Harriet. Excellent. Make sure you're still breathing, hips to the sky. Yes, there you go, Harriet. And then when you feel that you've had enough, come on down. Good. Take a moment in child's pose or sitting in Virasana. Good. Nice, you guys. And then slowly make your way back to your mat if you've wandered away. Find your way back. Come on back onto your backs. And find your way there. Good. And then bending the knees, please, planting the feet. Just taking one bridge pose to find, again, full length of the spine. Good. I often find that when we do a lot of splits and things like that, that it's really helpful to do poses that kind of help pull the thigh bones back in. For me, this is one of those poses. So pressing the upper arms into the floor, either straight or robot arms, feel the back of the shoulders drawing towards the center of the heart, feel your armpits lift, and then float the hips up as well. But have this feeling that as your hips go up, instead of pushing up through the pelvis, you have this feeling of pulling your thigh bones in and almost tilting the pelvis a little bit forward so that you get more length on the pelvis and less upward push. Good. So the thigh bones pull in. That space where your thighs meet your pelvis should be a little bit soft. Good. And if you want to go higher, it's got to come from your ribs. Yeah. Nice, you guys. Good. And then slowly release, please, rolling down the spine one vertebra at a time. Nice. Pause for a moment with the spine nice and neutral. Good. And then bring the knees in towards your chest. Bring your forehead up to meet your knees and squeeze into a little ball. Good. Really squeeze. So you're pulling those thighs in and dropping into your lower back, pressing your lower back wide. Good. And then release that, please. Plant the feet, please. Arms alongside you. Again, robot arms or arms straight. Come back into bridge. So pressing down into the feet. Rise up from the back of your heart. Float the hips up. Good. Again, pulling those thigh bones up and into the pelvis. So there's that subtle softening of the angle of your pelvis. So it's a little bit of like a tilt away from your ribs. Good. Watch your knees. Don't go too wide, Linda. Good. Slowly roll down the spine. Pause for a moment with the spine nice and neutral. And then draw the knees in towards your chest. Bring your forehead up to meet your knees and squeeze. Hug into that little ball again. Again, you're hollowing, but you're also drawing everything in, thighs and arms into the center. Good. And then release the shoulders, please. One more time. Plant your feet. Come back into bridge. Again, setting the arms however you like them, either bent elbows or straight. In the back of your heart, rise up, lift your hips. Good. And again, that slight tilt of the pelvis forward towards your heels. And a feeling like maybe you are pushing your elbows slightly wide, but your shoulder blades are drawing towards the center of your back. So there's a squeeze and there's a widening. Good. Slowly release, rolling down the spine again, one vertebra at a time. Good. Draw the knees or take a breath first with that neutral spine, so don't immediately go from one to the other. But then draw the knees in towards your chest. Bring your forehead up to meet your knees and squeeze. Good. And then relax the shoulders, please. Stretch your arms out wide. Scoot your butt over to the left. Drop your knees to the right, keeping the knees stacked on top of each other. Spinal twist. Trying to keep the knees in line with your hips or slightly higher. Good. And again, if the shoulder is pulling away from the floor a lot, you can always take the arm up alongside your ear. Good. Come back to center, please, keeping the knees moving in unison, pelvis moving in unison. Scoot your hips over to the right, drop your knees to the left, twist on the other side. Again, trying to keep the knees in line with each other. There are a million different ways that we can discover that we judge ourselves, a million different ways that we try and take the experience that we're having and divide it and turn it into something other than equanimity, something other than acceptance, into something other than permission. We undo that when we start to say that it is the Buddha that is experiencing this, or the soul that is experiencing this. Come back to center, please, squeezing the knees in. Good. Then start to set yourself up for Shavasana with the real intention or the real thought that you are setting yourself up in the most loving way possible, the most accepting way possible, that if you need a prop or you need something to make you more comfortable, more settled, is that you use it. Take it. Permission granted. And then as you settle yourself, you come back to breathing as wide as you can in all directions. And as wide as you can go in all directions, from all directions on the exhale as you are returning back. You're arriving back at the same place. And you remind yourself that it's the Buddha that is breathing, the soul that is breathing. Whatever you equate to be your innate goodness or your state of peace that exists within, that is what is breathing. Whatever is included in that breath, smile at it. And exhale, you return back to where you began, to what is behind. If all of that is too much work, just breathe. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. And the body begin to stretch and move, whatever ways serve it well. As you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment there before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position. Hands coming to rest, palm to palm at the heart or wherever you like to place them, whatever mudra has been working for you. So there's a Buddhist mantra that talks about going beyond. Right? It's gate, gate. It's a whole mantra about going beyond, beyond, beyond this idea of embodiment. And then as you go further and further beyond, as you reach into that infinite space. And then there's the reality that that infiniteness or that equanimity that we're seeking beyond is right here. That you don't have to go beyond this, is there just needs to be a relationship with this that allows that infiniteness to exist. Right? That right here, right now, with whatever you're thinking and feeling and doing, is that the Buddha nature is there, the equanimity is there, the enlightenment is there, it's here. So the more we release those or we remove those layers of judgment that we place on this natural way or even unnatural way that our mind has learned to work, we start to remove those layers of judgment and those layers of regret and reaction as we start to come back. And that's the practice, is to come back to what is underneath that, what is beyond. So it's not far away beyond, it's just what's underneath, it's where you began. And so we bring that into every day as you are the Buddha experiencing, every day you are the soul experiencing, every day you are equanimity, unconditional love, all of those things experiencing, whatever else is going through your mind. So let yourself be forgiven for whatever is there alongside that infinite self. But it's right here. So come back, come in. Don't go so far away. And if you do go far away, remember to come back. It's really the be-all, end-all of yoga, is that you remember to come back one more time than you went away. That's all. So come back to where you began. Close with the sound of Om. Deep breath. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, reminding yourself that you are Buddha, experiencing whatever it is that you are doing. And I am away the rest of this week, so I won't see you guys tomorrow night. Jeannie is teaching at 6 o'clock a restorative yoga class only in studio. So if you're interested in that, you can probably still sign up. And then Saturday, 8 a.m., Linda will be subbing for me in the morning. So I will see you. I'll be back for Sunday. Have a great night.
I hope you're going somewhere fun.
Yeah.